Let's jump right in. Today's explainer is all about Carata, and honestly, it's a platform that is completely reshaping how local African businesses operate in the digital economy. If you're fascinated by how smart tech can just upend traditional economies, you're gonna love this. We're zeroing in on exactly what Carata does, how it smashes through technological hurdles, and the very real impact it's having on the ground.
So here's the central puzzle we're going to solve together today. How exactly do you bring 44 million small businesses online without asking them to build a website? It kind of sounds like a paradox, right? Because in the West, we just assume that going online means buying a domain, paying for hosting, building a storefront, the whole shebang. But actually, in a lot of the world, that exact assumption is the massive barrier keeping millions of people completely locked out of the digital economy.
To really get why, we need to look at the physical reality. Just picture a vibrant, bustling, traditional African market stall. The vendor running that stall, they are absolutely the hero of our story today. I mean, they've got the goods, they know their local customers inside and out, and they have serious entrepreneurial drive. But right now, they are facing total digital exclusion. Because setting up and managing a complex digital storefront, yeah, that's just not feasible when you're busy managing physical inventory on a packed street corner all day long.
Okay, let's dive into this data, because this is where the sheer scale of the issue hits you. These medium, small, and micro enterprises, or MSMEs, they aren't just some niche sector. They are literally the engine of the continent. We're talking about businesses that power over 50% of the entire African GDP and provide a staggering 80% of all jobs. They're the absolute backbone of everyday life.
And yet, they're essentially locked out of this massive opportunity. To put it into perspective, the African e-commerce market is on track to hit a whopping $939.8 billion by 2032. But our market vendor? They're hitting three massive walls: limited digital skills, zero spare time, and very limited capital. They just don't have the resources to suddenly learn web development, juggle digital inventory, or fork over heavy setup fees.
Section 1. What Carata actually does, bridging the digital divide.
So at its core, Carata is an AI-first, unified e-commerce platform. Basically, instead of asking 44 million individual businesses to somehow build 44 million separate websites, Carata just acts as one centralized marketplace. It literally brings the infrastructure directly to the vendor instead of making the vendor struggle to build it themselves.
And here is the absolute game changer. Vendors can sell online without managing a digital profile. Seriously, I cannot overstate how huge this is. By completely removing the headache of website management, catalog updates, all of that digital profiling, Carata takes the tech barrier and just drops it to zero. This is the exact key that unlocks the door for millions of informal vendors to finally get a slice of that $939 billion market.
Section 2. Inside the Carata experience, how it works.
The real genius here is just how simple it is. The core loop, for both the buyer and the platform, breaks down into three super intuitive steps. Number 1, find or add items. Number 2, select the delivery company. And number 3, track your order. Let's actually walk through what this looks like for a customer.
Now, what's really interesting about this interface is just how familiar it feels. The home screen looks exactly like the food delivery or ride-sharing apps we all use every single day. You can tap to order food, run errands, or basically just ask for anything. It makes it incredibly easy for a customer to start an order from a local vendor without having to dig through some messy, complicated digital catalog.
Once they know what they want, it's on to step 2, checkout and delivery. The system just seamlessly bakes local delivery right into the transaction. It prompts you to pick a delivery company, like their subsidiary Cargo, and gives you real-time estimates. We're talking like a 19-minute delivery by bicycle for a super low, completely transparent fee.
And finally, step 3. The customer hits the order details screen and gets total transparency, exactly what they paid, the delivery fee, when it's arriving. But think back to our hero, the vendor. For them, this whole transaction just happened without them ever writing a single line of code, updating a web page, or messing with a shopping cart. They just did what they do best, providing the goods. And this slick digital experience is totally grounded in the real world. Out on the streets, you've got region-bound couriers, usually zipping around on bicycles or motorbikes, making sure these local transactions result in really fast, reliable, and cheap deliveries. The tech is just quietly connecting the neighborhood vendor to the neighborhood courier, all to serve the neighborhood customer.
Section 3. Beating the e-commerce giants, the asset-light advantage.
So when you think about traditional e-commerce giants like Amazon,
Their whole model relies on massive in-house delivery networks and giant centralized warehouses full of limited, owned inventory. It is wildly capital-intensive. But Carata, they operate in a completely different lane. They're a delivery marketplace with basically unlimited inventory because their inventory is just whatever millions of local vendors happen to be selling that day. It's this highly scalable middle ground approach that leverages community assets that already exist instead of burning cash trying to build them from scratch.
That asset-light approach gives them a really sharp edge. Let's just quickly rattle through these advantages. It's social commerce, letting folks order literally anything from their local area. It means faster deliveries because the couriers stick to specific regions and are always close by. It's got high scalability since there are barely any physical assets to weigh it down. The ease of use is off the charts for anyone lacking digital skills. And above all, it's a community enabler, building real loyalty between local businesses and their neighbors.
Section 4. The real-world impact, proving the model viable.
When Carata connects a vendor to this network, the transformation really rests on three core pillars. First, expanded reach. The vendor is no longer limited to whoever walks past their stall. Their entire neighborhood is now their storefront. Second, accelerated revenue. More reach naturally equals more sales. And third, increased resilience. By diversifying how they sell, these small businesses are way better insulated against local economic hiccups or even just a rainy day that keeps foot traffic home.
And you know what? The data show that people really want this. Carta has already processed over 8,000 orders. But don't just look at that as some dry business metric. Think about the human narrative there. That's 8,000 distinct times a local, informal business was financially empowered. Literally 8,000 times. A vendor made a sale they probably would have missed if they were still digitally excluded.
And this brilliantly illustrates the sheer hyperlocal power of this model. Those 8,000 orders, they came from over 1,200 users and 100 businesses operating in just 3 neighborhoods. 3 neighborhoods! They haven't had to burn millions trying to conquer a whole country overnight. They're proving that by going deep and creating these really dense, hyperlocal networks, they can drive massive engagement.
Which really leaves us with this final, thrilling thought. If Carata can completely transform the economic reality for 100 businesses and process thousands of orders in just 3 local neighborhoods, what happens to the African economy when this friction-free model truly scales? Like what happens when we connect all 44 million African MSMEs? The potential is absolutely staggering, and it's just such a perfect example of how targeted, empathetic technology can genuinely change the world. Thanks for hanging out and exploring this with me today. Keep learning, and I'll catch you on the next explainer.